What if I told you that a young, private Indian company just pulled off an orbital launch on their very first try? I mean, think about that for a second. That's a feat that famously took giants like SpaceX multiple, highly explosive attempts to get right. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down a truly historic milestone. It's not just a massive win for one company, but honestly, it's a huge leap for the entire global space industry.
So let's just dive right into it. On July 18, 2026, Skyroot Aerospace successfully launched their Vikram-1 rocket, totally cementing India's private space revolution. And this wasn't just some basic test flight either. It was a flawless execution that's completely challenging everything we thought we knew about how long it takes and how much it costs to reach orbit.
Here's a quick look at our agenda for today. We're going to cover India's new private space era, the Vikram-1 launch itself, the crazy engineering and 3D printing behind it, their brand new cab-to-space model, some seriously unique payloads, and finally, wrap up with India's larger global space ambitions.
All right, part one, India's private space era. We're looking at the journey from ISRO's foundation to a $1.1 billion unicorn. For decades, basically all of India's space triumphs belonged strictly to the government. But then, in 2018, two former ISRO scientists stepped out on their own and founded Skyroot Aerospace. And here is what's absolutely wild to me. This $1.1 billion space tech unicorn, it's driven by a massive team of over 1,000 experts with an average age of just 28. These 20-somethings went out, raised $160 million from global investors, and literally made history.
And there's actually a really poetic coincidence to all of this. The Vikram-1 launch happened on July 18, 2026. Exactly 46 years prior, literally to the day, on July 18, 1980, India launched its first experimental satellite launch vehicle, the SLV-3, under ISRO. It's just this beautiful, almost cinematic passing of the torch from the government pioneers to the private innovators. Moving on to part two, the historic Vikram-1 launch, where they reached orbit in just 15 minutes and 46 seconds.
Picture this, standing 24 meters tall, that's about the height of a 7-story building, Vikram-1 is sitting there ready on the launch pad. The mission is called Agman, which means arrival, but it almost didn't happen as planned. At T-minus 12 minutes, the automated sequence kicks in. Everything's fine. Then, at exactly T-minus 5 minutes and 59 seconds, the clock suddenly stops. The system detected a minor anomaly in the navigation parameters. Now, in rocket science, a tiny error usually means millions of dollars instantly turning into a fireball. But this young flight control team, they didn't even blink. In just 35 minutes, they calmly reset the autonomous algorithms, resumed the countdown, and at exactly 12:05 and 30 seconds p.m., Vikram-1 lifted off.
What happened next is absolutely crucial. A mere 15 minutes and 46 seconds after liftoff, the rocket perfectly deployed its payloads into a 450-kilometer low Earth orbit. The control room just completely erupted. Commentators were declaring, "Hello space, we have arrived," right at 12:21 p.m. With that single flawless maiden flight, India became only the third country in the world, right behind the US and China, to pull off an independent, private orbital launch. Just incredible.
Okay, part three, let's talk about the engineering, the 3D printing, and how they completely reimagined rocket architecture.
So to get up to 350 kilograms of payload all the way into orbit, you need a material that is incredibly light but unbelievably strong. Traditionally, rockets rely on massive steel and heavy metal alloys. The problem is that adds so much weight that you end up burning through a ton of fuel just to lift the rocket itself. Skyroot totally threw out that playbook. Vikram-1 is built with an all-carbon composite body structure. Think about the materials they use in Formula One cars. It's ultra-lightweight but actually significantly stronger than steel. That amazing strength-to-weight ratio means it uses way less fuel just lifting itself, which means it can carry a lot more commercial payload. And that super lightweight body pairs perfectly with their 4-stage hybrid propulsion setup. The first 3 stages use solid-fuel Kalam series engines. Those are all about brute force, giving it the massive initial thrust it needs to punch through atmospheric resistance and escape Earth's gravity. But once you're actually up in space, you need total precision. That's where the 4th stage, the Orbital Adjustment Module, or OAM, kicks in, using the liquid fuel Raman engine.
This is where their tech edge really shines. The combustion chamber for that Raman engine, it was made using 100% additive manufacturing. Yeah, 3D printing. Normally, you'd have to manufacture hundreds of tiny metal pipes and valves and spend months welding them all together. And every one of those welds is a potential breaking point under extreme pressure. Skyroot just 3D printed the entire complex structure as one single piece of metallic alloy. Boom!
They cut production time down from months to literally a few days and totally eliminated the risk of a weld blowing out.
Moving into Part 4, the cab to space and how they're revolutionizing orbital logistics.
You have to ask, what's the actual business problem Skyroot is solving here? Well, imagine you're stuck at a bus stop in the middle of nowhere. You might wait hours for a bus, and when it finally shows up, it's packed and you might not even get a seat. That is exactly what the current rideshare model is like for small satellites today. They have to wait 12 to 24 months to hitch a ride on some massive rocket, forcing them into a schedule and an orbit they have zero control over. Skyroot's cab-to-space model is basically like pulling out your phone and instantly booking an Uber. It's an on-demand, dedicated flight that drops your satellite exactly where you need it to go.
And that liquid fuel ramen engine we just talked about? That's the secret sauce. Because it's a restartable engine. It operates exactly like an Amazon delivery driver working your neighborhood. It flies up to one specific orbit, drops off a satellite, shuts down, glides over to a completely different orbit, fires back up, and drops off the next satellite. For companies doing telecommunications or Earth observation, having an on-demand logistics model like that is just a total game changer.
All right, Part 5, Unique and Historic Payloads, where we see tech demonstrators blending with cosmic art.
Normally, on a first flight, rocket companies just load up heavy blocks of metal as dummy weights, right? That way, if the rocket blows up, they don't lose anything valuable. But Skyroot was so confident in Vikram-1 that they packed it with fully functional tech. We're talking the CosmoServe's soft robotic debris arm, which is this brilliant tool designed to gently grab dead satellites and space junk without shattering their solar panels. They also sent up Graha Space's video mapping nanosatellite, some proprietary release modules from Germany's D-Cubed, and Skyroot's very own Scope satellite, designed to harvest massive amounts of flight data to make their next rockets even better.
But they went way beyond just tech. They literally sent art into orbit. There was a lab-grown diamond sculpted into a lotus flower by Cosmos Diamonds. Then there was this mind-bending piece by artist Ajay Kumar, an 18-karat solid gold micro-rocket that perfectly fits inside the eye of a sewing needle. And if you look inside that tiny rocket, there are micro-sculptures of legendary Indian scientists, Dr. Sarabhai, Dr. Raman, Dr. Kalam, each one smaller than a single grain of rice. Oh, and to top it off, they included a postcard handwritten by Prime Minister Narendra Modi with the words Vande Mataram, celebrating the 150th anniversary of the national song. Absolute phenomenal.
Finally, Part 6, India's global space ambitions and the massive generational shift driving it all.
This mission isn't just one company's success. It is undeniable proof of a seismic shift in India's whole space ecosystem. Think about this. In 2014, India had exactly one space startup, just one. But by 2026, thanks to the in-space reforms of 2020, which boldly opened up ISRO's world-class testing facilities to private companies, that number has exploded to over 400 space startups.
And that brings us to the ultimate economic target. Right now, India holds roughly 2% of the global space market, but the national goal, they want to skyrocket that to 10% by 2030. It's an aggressive target, but it's heavily backed by states like Telangana, which is already India's #1 hub for aerospace engineering exports and is actually the physical home base for Skyroot's operations.
The sheer significance of this achievement was really captured right after the launch, when the Prime Minister personally called Skyroot's CEO. During a 9-minute phone call, he told him, "You have made the youth's dreams a reality. I will always be there to support you." I mean, what an incredible emotional validation for a team in their 20s who managed to prove all the skeptics wrong on their very first try.
So we've just seen how a young team broke records, totally reimagined rocket manufacturing with carbon composites and 3D printing, and launched a business model that essentially treats space like an on-demand taxi service. And the craziest part? This was just their maiden flight. With private startups like this taking the reins and nailing such complex tech on day one, how far do you think India's space ecosystem is going to reach by 2030? It's the billion-dollar question. Thanks so much for hanging out and learning with me on this explainer today.